Example number 2, write each irrational expression in its most simple form. The way that we do this is we first factor, then we state our non-permissible values, and then we cancel. Whoo! Very exciting. I know in the beginning of the year you guys didn't like canceling so much, but I want to show you why canceling is awesome. Okay? So what I want to do first is see how many times, or factor. Sorry, right, we want to factor. Well, it's factored already, so what we want to do next is state our non-permissible values. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write our non-permissible values in red. If a is 0, then the denominator is 0, so a cannot equal 0. If b equals 0, then the denominator is 0, so b cannot equal 0. If 35 is 0, wait a minute, 35 is just 35. 35 can never be 0, so we don't have to worry about the numbery bits. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to cancel out as best as we can. 5 goes into 25 5 times. 5 goes into 30 7 times. So what we're left with here is negative 5 over 7. 3, remember those exponent rules that I kind of went over in the intro? Not kind of, I did go over in the intro. Here's where they're going to come in handy. 3 minus, there's an implied 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. So on the top here we have a squared. B minus 5 is b to the negative 3. Whoa, 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 we're going to use another exponent law for that one. C divided by, oh, there's no c to cancel with on the bottom, so then we don't worry about it. We just say c. The way to make this one prettier is, instead of saying b to the negative 3, we multiply it by b to the negative 1. So since this is negative, it goes into the denominator. Don't forget to carry that 3 with it though too, the exponent 3. So it becomes negative 5 over 7 a squared over b to the 3, and then our c goes right here. So negative 5 a squared c divided by 7b to the 3. Notice that before we did any counseling, we stated our non-permissible values. That is so important. All right, let's move on to the next one. Step number 1, factor. I'm going to pull out a 6, sorry, this should actually have an x here. Sorry about that, folks. I'm going to pull out a 6x from both of this. 6x, we're left with x minus 2 over 3x. Before I do any canceling, I'm going to state my non-permissible value. If x equals 0, the denominator equals 0. So x cannot equal 0. If 3 equals 0, wait a minute, 3 can't equal 0. We don't have to worry about it. Next, we move on to the canceling. 3 goes into itself once, and 3 goes into 6 2 times. Another thing that cancels is our x. We don't have to worry about that. So what we're left with is, so the denominator just becomes 1, so we can just get rid of it. 2x minus 2. And that's that. All right, moving right along. This one's a little bit trickier, right? Because we have to factor both the numerator and the denominator. But don't worry about it. We have a difference of squares, and we know how to factor this kind of thing, and even our a is 1. So we're sitting pretty. The top factors out to be x minus 7 times x plus 7 all over, this factors to be x minus 7, x plus 2. Now before we do any sort of canceling, what we want to do is state our non-permissible values. Oh, not and non-permissible values. So when x equals positive 7, that means that this turns to 0. So x cannot equal positive 7. When x equals negative 2, the denominator becomes 0. So x cannot equal negative 2. Now here's where handy canceling comes in. We've stated our non-permissible value, so now we can cancel. We can cancel this with this. So then my final, most simplified answer is just going to be x plus 7 over x plus 2. You can keep it in the brackets or not keep it in the brackets. Don't matter to me. All right. So this is the last example. You'll notice that's the only one on the board because it actually takes quite a bit of work. Okay, so hunker down. We can get through this. Let's just go through the steps step by step. So item number 1, we have to factor both the numerator and the denominator. This one is a little bit trickier because the a value is not 1, but we know how to do that, no problem. This one's pretty easy, it's just a difference of squares. So I'm going to start off with what's easier, 3 minus x times 3 plus x. On the top, I'm going to take a couple of steps to do this. We have 2x squared minus 6x plus x minus 3. Two numbers that add up to negative 5 and multiply out to negative 6. 2x, I'm going to factor 2x out of both, x minus 3 plus x minus 3 all over 3 minus x, 3 plus x, 2x plus 1 times x minus 3 all over 3 minus x, 3 plus x. All right, we're all factored. I mean, we could have chosen our non-permissible values right here because, folks, it doesn't matter what the numerator is. All we're doing is looking for where the denominator equals 0. Some people are like, oh, it's going to be a -1/2. No, that's when the numerator is 0, and that is totally legit. Where it's not legit is in the denominator. So let's take pause at this point, just because we have both nicely factored. The non-permissible values. X cannot equal -3, and, x cannot equal +3, and x cannot equal -3. Another way we can write it is that like plus minus 3 thing. Okay, so what I want to do right now is I want to factor out something, but, one moment please. Drop my marker. What we need to actually use is this whole -1 thing that I showed you in the intro video. This and this goes into each other, like goes into itself, like the way that it can be canceled is as a -1. Okay? Put that in brackets so you don't think it's subtracting 1. If you didn't get that step, go back to the intro video, like right at the end. That's when I explained it. So this cancels with this, and it becomes a -1. Whether the -1 is in the numerator or denominator, it doesn't matter, because the whole fraction is still negative. What are we left with here? -2x plus 1 over, and guys, this is just the same thing, so I'm going to make it more palatable for our eyeballs and brains, x plus 3. The x term usually comes first. And that's it. Done.